That night, when everything began, was not ordinary. I stood within the observatory, certain that the heavens would follow their known patterns.
Hurry! Go call him! Quickly!
Until a star appeared. Living, pulsating, impossible. It was not merely light, it was a call. And the words of Daniel, long forgotten by many, began to breathe within me once more. Within the Brotherhood, I was questioned.
The Brotherhood wishes to hear what you have to say about the star.
It has broken every pattern we know.
Some doubted.
And you reached that conclusion so quickly?
Others resisted. But I knew that when the sky itself speaks through light, ignoring it is to turn away from truth. So I chose to depart. Before I left, Nereus placed in my hands a small flask of myrrh, as if destiny itself understood that this journey would carry weight and meaning. And it was in the desert, amidst the rising winds and the relentless trial of the sands, that I realized the path ahead would demand far more than knowledge.
Get down! Now!
It would demand endurance.
I didn't come this far to be buried in the sand.
I believed I would walk alone, but the heavens rarely call only one witness. And so, guided by a light I could no longer ignore, my journey did not end in the desert. It only moved forward, as the path before me continued into the story of the Wise of the East. There are journeys that shape the body, and others that shape destiny. I believed I was walking alone into the unknown, but the desert, silent at night and vast, rarely reveals everything at once.
Thank you, my friend, for walking with me through these days.
These days of burning sand taught me a simple truth. The sun consumes, but the night reveals. I learned to rest while the heat raged, and to walk under the silver cloak of darkness. For even though the star shone by day, it was in the silence of the night that it truly spoke.
We rested during the day. Now the night will shelter us as we move forward.
For an instant, I thought of Daniel, the man who, centuries before, looked at the sky of a foreign land and dared to believe that kingdoms obeyed something greater than the will of men.
If you were right, Daniel, then the sky has begun to speak again.
Perhaps he understood before all of us that not every sign is born to be explained. Some exist only to be followed. It was then that I noticed lights in the distance, small, moving. 3 golden dots winding through the desert. Lamps. I climbed the crest of the dune with caution. The silhouette of 2 figures emerged in the darkness, advancing in steady steps. The sound of a metallic astrolabe tinkling at short intervals. When they approached, I saw clearly. An older man with a long beard and serene gaze. And a young man with an intense expression, holding astronomical instruments. The older one raised his hand.
Peace be upon you, traveler. And peace be upon you as well.
You are following the light, aren't you?
Since the night it first crossed the horizon.
It does not belong to any cycle we know.
Nor does it match the movement of any comet, meteor, or conjunction. I have checked the calculations 6 times.
And yet, you still came. Mathematics points to the west. And you? My calculations say the same. But I follow something beyond them.
The older one placed his hand over his heart in greeting.
I am Melkan, son of Adar. I come from Ecbatana, in the north of Persia. For decades I have observed the sky from that mountain, but I confess I have never seen a sign such as this.
The young man, restless, eyes attentive, the astrolabe shining under the moon.
Adar, I am from Seleucia, on the banks of the great river. I have studied orbits and cycles since I learned to write. Harps do not move me, metaphors do not convince me, but numbers do. And the numbers say this star is no accident.
And you, traveler? Where do you come from?
For an instant, I felt the weight of silence. It had been a while since I walked without hearing my name or remembering the soil that saw me born. And I answered,
Zadok. I come from Susa, further east than Ecbatana and Seleucia. Perhaps too far for many to believe that a man would leave everything to follow a light. The further the origin, the stronger the call.
Adar observed me with penetrating curiosity.
Zadok of Susa, you didn't just follow calculations then.
No. I followed what I could not ignore.
Melkan placed a hand on my shoulder, a rare gesture among men of the desert.
Then you are not just a sage who follows the star. You are someone it called.
The star pulsed once, a light glow, like a distant heart breathing in the firmament. Adar lifted his face.
Did you see that? It can't be a coincidence.
Coincidences do not shine with such persistence.
Melkan nodded.
The desert is vast. Traveling in three is safer.
And three see more than one. So it seems heaven decided this path should not be walked alone.
The three of us stood in silence for a few moments, observing the same star that now united us. Destiny rarely calls just one man. Sometimes it calls three. And on that night, in the heart of the desert, the wise men of the East began their journey not as strangers, but as part of the same call. To travel alone is to understand silence. To travel accompanied is to understand the world. The first dawn we shared seemed different. The desert, once hostile, became a grand open hall where our shadows walked side by side. The wind brought the sound of Melkan's footsteps, slow, rhythmic, while Adar murmured calculations and hypotheses that seemed to have a life of their own. The star still shone in the sky, even with the sun breaking on the horizon. Not with force, but with persistence. Melkan noticed first.
Look. Even with the dawn, she remains there.
Adar raised the astrolabe.
Persistence does not mean miracle. It could be refraction, dust in the upper atmosphere, or some phenomenon we still don't fully understand.
Numbers always try to protect the heart from what it fears to name.
And poetry tries to give meaning to what numbers have already solved.
I walked a little ahead, observing the sky.
Maybe none of us carries all the answers, but we are all walking forward because the same question called us.
Zadok, you speak like one who listens to what the sky whispers.
And you speak like one who has already heard before us.
We continued the journey until the sun was high. The heat was brutal, but the conversation made the path less heavy. At a certain point, Adar stopped abruptly, adjusting the delicate metal structure of the astrolabe.
Look here. Even with the shifting of the celestial sphere, the star remains in the same relative position. It does not move like the other stars.
Melkan approached.
Set like a seal upon the firmament.
Adar shook his head, intrigued.
This shouldn't happen. Nothing in the sky stays still. Perhaps it is not still. Perhaps it is pointing. Pointing? Pointing to where?
Not to where. To who?
The silence that followed was not of doubt, but of recognition. Upon reaching a small oasis, we stopped to recover strength. The water reflected the sky like a broken mirror. Adar washed his face while Melkan sat beside me.
Zadok, tell me the truth. Within you, is there fear?
Fear exists, always, but it only wins when we choose to stop. And I cannot ignore the path of this light.
Doubt is the shadow of faith. They walk together. The important thing is not to let the shadow darken the path.
Adar approached, drying his face.
If what you say is true, if the whole firmament moved because of someone, why us three? Why us, coming from regions so distant from one another? Because perhaps it is not enough for one man to see. Perhaps it is necessary that three bear witness.
Adar remained silent. Melkan raised his gaze to the horizon.
He is right. 3 points form a constellation. 3 witnesses form a truth.
At nightfall, we resumed the march. The cold sand shone under the moon like extinguished embers. Suddenly, the wind changed. Denser, more silent, almost attentive. Adar stopped.
Did you feel that?
Melkan closed his eyes.
Yes. The air changed.
I raised my face to the sky. The star pulsed. Once, twice, 3 times. Not like a star, but as if acknowledging that now we were 3. Adar whispered.
She saw us.
And she calls us.
I advanced a step.
Then let us follow. The night is still long, but the light knows where it is going.
We walked until our shadows merged with the darkness. The journey was taking shape. 3 paths coming from the east became one, and the more the star pulsed, the more destiny seemed to breathe. There are cities that welcome the traveler, and there are cities that watch him, as if every step were a mistake. When we left the last dunes behind and Judea appeared ahead, I felt the air change. The hills were beautiful, yes, but something in them seemed contained, as if the very land avoided taking a deep breath. In the distance, Roman banners waved in the wind. Melkan narrowed his eyes.
Rome is far too concentrated in this region. Something is happening.
Whatever this is, traveling through here won't be simple.
I instinctively looked at the sky. The light that guided us should be there, but it wasn't.
The star. It's gone.
It hasn't vanished. It must be hidden by the brightness of the day. There has to be an explanation.
But his voice didn't have the same firmness as before.
Hold your goods close, brother.
Yes. Hurry, let us pass the gate quickly.
We entered Jerusalem. The city seemed full, but not alive. Quick glances pierced us like silent blades. People stared at us and looked away upon realizing we were foreigners. And there were soldiers, many soldiers, patrolling the corners, guarding courtyards, standing in deadly silence, watching.
By order of the king. Get out of here, old man, now!
We were guided here by a star, yet this city seems guided by fear.
These people do not walk, they hide.
The tension in this city is almost palpable. Something's not right here.
We proceeded to a small square where merchants set up their tents. I tried to approach one of them, a man with tired eyes.
Peace be with you. Has there been any sign in the sky here? A light that was also seen by you? Not here, don't speak of it. What does this mean? Why would a simple question make a man afraid?
Before I could answer, an old man sitting near the fountain signaled for us to approach. His eyes evaluated every movement around before speaking.
Outsiders, Jerusalem is no place for questions. Here, every word can be heard where it should not. We do not seek trouble. We only want to understand a sign from the sky.
Signs from the sky always bring whispers to this city, and whispers bring fear, and fear brings the king.
Why would an astronomical event draw the king's attention?
Because there are rumors. Rumors that must not be repeated. And when rumors trouble the throne silences them.
Before we could ask more, metallic footsteps echoed in the square. 2 Roman soldiers approached with rigid posture.
You three! Identify yourselves!
We are learned men from the east. Oh! Learned men?
So you are the ones the king wishes to see.
The king? Herod? Why? Because you arrived here asking questions about signs in the heavens. And the king wishes to know why.
And if we refuse?
Refusal is not an option.
The missing star, the people in fear, the king calling for us, and no one explained anything. The soldiers cleared the way. Jerusalem watched us as we walked, doors ajar, dark windows, eyes that preferred not to be seen. At the top of the hill, Herod's palace rose like an awakened beast, waiting.
Enter. The king awaits you.
We came seeking answers in the sky. But in Jerusalem, we discovered that some answers belonged to men, and those were the most dangerous.